Alright, so several of you have asked me to put together a video of our chicken experience. Here you see our chicken tractor. This is one where we got plans from another YouTuber, John Suskovich. If you're interested in these plans, you can look his videos up. He has links to it, or I believe you can find them on Amazon. But it gave us the exact plans that we needed for this chicken tractor. I think one of the things we learned along the way is this size is really best for probably 25 chickens max. We had 50 chickens in here, and it was simply too much. There wasn't enough room for all the chickens. To try to mitigate that concern, we'd move them several times per day. We'd get the feeders out of there just so they had as much room and fresh grass as possible. But definitely one of our learnings was in this size tractor, which is roughly, I believe it's about 6 feet by 10 feet, so about 60 square feet. Really, you want to target about 2 square feet per bird. We researched that after the fact, and so it's certainly something that we've learned along the way. So I'm going to walk you through the process. We're here on week 8 at harvesting time. I'm about to get these last 3 chickens out of the chicken tractor. We're going to take them over to the cones, and I'll show you that next step in just 1 minute.
Okay.
So this is step 1. These are the killing cones, and these chickens fit right in the cone, and then their head will come out the bottom. So what this does, you can see once they get in the cone, it holds their wings to them and calms them down. And I'm not going to show you the actual dispatching of the chickens, but you kind of get the scene here. So their heads will come out the end, or we'll go ahead and quickly dispatch them and let them bleed out, and then I'll show you the next step. Alright, now that the chickens have been humanely dispatched, we're going to move to the next step, which is the scalder. The scalder is set at about 140 to 150 degrees. And when you get these chickens in here, you want to dunk it so that all of the feathers all the way down to their feet are soaked. And you kind of go up and down, make sure that all those air bubbles around their quills are all gone. And we'll do this for about 30 seconds or so, at which point we'll go ahead and check some of these wing feathers to see if they're starting to release or not. So we'll go ahead and give a check here. You can see I tug and they're not ready yet, so we'll keep soaking here. Alright, we'll check again. You can see they're just starting to come out, so we'll just give it about 10 more seconds or so here. Okay, now we're ready to move to the next step, which is the plucker. So this plucker can hold about 3 large chickens all at the same time. Once you get them in here, you're going to grab a hose and start spraying them down with some water, and you'll see the feathers just start to come out the back end here. But this really makes plucking a lot easier. I'll show you here. 30 seconds, you got a nice clean bird, just a few tail feathers there to clean up, and it's good to go. So I'm gonna get these on the butchering table and then I'll be right back with you.
Go.
Okay, so now for the butchering part, which I would agree is probably the most intimidating part of the whole process of raising your own chickens. Just so you're aware, these are the Cornish crossbreed. And there's some tricks that we've learned along the way that makes this a little bit easier. So I'll just kind of walk you through the steps here. So just to make it easy, we go ahead and take the head off here to get that out of the way. Take the feet off. That's usually pretty straightforward. If you can, with the breast facing up, if you kind of pull down on that foot and get right in between this joint, you can kind of pop that tendon and then go right on through. And that makes that part pretty easy. You can see some of the feet are white and some are the yellow. When they're blanched in that hot water, the skin does come off. You can actually use that as one of the indicators that you've scalded them long enough. But we'll go ahead and take the second one off. Right in between that joint. And then once you break that through, you can just cut right through. And then I move up back to the neck where I make a small incision here and then follow that right up the neck. And then here, you try to detach that esophagus and other tubes here in the neck area from the neck itself. You can kind of just spread the skin off of there. There's some membranes in there, and just kind of get that detached. You can see the esophagus there. That way when you get to the other end and you start pulling out the innards, everything from up here just pulls all the way through there. Okay, now for the other end. So you can see the rear end here and this tail, and on this tail here you can see right there, that's a little oil gland that the chickens use. You'll want to take that off. I'll kind of show you that at the very end. So just a small incision here. You don't want to go too deep, otherwise you'll start to get into the intestines, and we definitely don't want to cut those. So once I make a small hole, I can just go ahead and pull that open, make some room there. And then this is pretty straightforward. You just reach in and start pulling things out here. Once you have everything here kind of on the rear end, what I do is, so I don't get any of the feces inside the chicken, and just once I get it all hanging, I go ahead and cut the anus off of this, and I go all the way down, and I just take that tail off the chicken all in one piece. It goes ahead and takes off the oil gland there. And then make sure all the feces stay outside of the chicken. Let me just spray my hands off here. Once we've got that done, I move back up to the neck. Some people like to save these necks. We are not going to this time, so just kind of cut on through the meat till you get to the bone, and then you can just pop that neck right off. So that's the cleaning of the chicken, relatively straightforward with a few of those tips, and then from here we go straight into the ice bath. Alright, so I've got it all washed off, ready to go into the ice bath here. So one thing that we learned that I wanted to share is that while the chicken's nice and fresh here, you're going to want to wait at least 24 hours to eat it. It's going to go through rigor mortis. It's going to get real stiff, and then it'll relax the meat again. And so to prevent a real tough bird, you want to at least wait 24 hours. What we're going to do is we're going to keep this in an ice bath overnight, and then tomorrow we're going to put these in bags, and they're heat activated. So once you get the chicken in there, you dip it in the hot water, it shrinks up real tight, and it's got a zip tie on top, so you can go ahead and zip that tie and clip the top, and then they'll be good in the freezer for several months. So that's really the last step. I think overall our experience with chickens has been pretty positive. We started with 51 chickens, and we ended up with 47 at harvest time. So our goal was to have at least 45, and so we're really happy with 47. You're gonna You're going to lose one here or there for various reasons, but overall seems to be worth it. We're excited about being able to enjoy these through the winter, and yeah, best of luck to you. Thanks.